Hi everyone, I'm JD from Willow Journals. Welcome back to my channel. Here is part 3 of the Make a Junk Journal with Me series. We are making this vintage French journal together. So first video we did the cover. Second video we prepared all of our feature pages. There are 10 of these. In this video I am going to show you how I prepare all the other pages. So the writing pages, the blank pages, and then the novelty pages. In my single signature journals, I tend to do 25 pages, so that when they fold in half, you get 50 pages, which gives you 100 front and back sides. I think that's just a nice round number, but I play around with that. Sometimes I do fewer, sometimes I do more, but that's just my guideline, 25. So what I like to do when I have 25 is 10 feature pages, 10 blank writing pages, so they're balanced out, they're even. There's decorative and writing space. And then I usually have about 5 or so novelty types of papers or interactive papers. So things like vellum, doilies, bags, and envelopes. We will also make our own pockets. I'm going to show you some of the interesting ways I like to fold my papers so that each time you flip through the journal and flip to a new page, you're getting a different look. So I'll show you how I do all of that using these papers. So let's get to it. All right, I usually start off with the novelty papers first because they're just the easiest to do, the quickest. Let's just organize ourselves. I open up the journal because this shows me how big the papers need to be. Envelope, coffee dyed envelope. I just cut off the flap, and all I'm going to do is fold this one in half because that will give me 2 top loading pockets. So there's an interactive page right there. I have got 2 bags, one paper bag, one glassine bag, and I'm just going to trim along here so that we have 2 pockets with this bag. So this time what we have are 2 side loading pockets like that. All right, so let's grab this one. What I'm going to do is show you a different way that you can make pockets with this. So folding it in half again, so we've got one pocket on this side, but what I want to do is trim it here so that on the other side you actually have a top loading pocket for this side of the signature. So that's something you can do as well, and that might depend on what item you have in there. If you have like a tag, it might be better to pull it out from the top, or it's just something different to look at basically. Next, moving on to our doily. I've got this beautiful coffee dye doily, but you can get doilies in all shapes and sizes, round ones, square ones, heart-shaped ones, big, small. So whatever doily you have, you can either just fold it directly in half, or you can just fold it to where you need it to be and trim it down. So I'm going to fold mine to about here, and then you can either trim that off, or what I will do to show you is I'm going to fold that in. So then you have a little extra flap there. How would I use that in an actual journal? I would either just leave it as something decorative, or I might glue another page here. For example, I might glue this here so that that becomes another page. So there's an idea that you can use anytime that you have a flap. So there is my doily. All right, next for my vellum page, I'm literally just going to fold this one over, and I'm using this as a guide. So see how I've got a little gap here? I'm going to make that gap a little wider, so that can avoid me having to trim down, hopefully at the end when I put it all together, trimming down those edges, because the pages further inside the signature are going to stick out more. So I'm just going to leave a decent, generous amount of gap. Keep this. This will become one of the pockets we sew into our journal. You can use glue if you don't have a sewing machine. Keep that. And we will just rule this. If you want, you could even fold this over narrower so that you have a larger pocket. So think about the two. Think about the size of your page. Think about the size pocket that you want when you come to cut that. All I'm going to do, I use a ruler and pen to mark where to cut that off. If you have a paper cutter, a paper trimmer, go ahead and use that. But again, all I'm doing with all of the large pages is leaving a gap at the top, a gap at the bottom, and a decent gap at the side. Some people like their pages going all the way to the top and bottom and the side. If that's you, you can do that. But all I'm saying or showing you in this video is why I keep it open is so I can see that cover behind it, and that gives me my size guide. Of course, if you have a paper trimmer, you can just go ahead, you know where to mark it and use your paper trimmer. But yeah, this is to avoid, not that this is a huge deal, but often when I first started, I folded all my papers in half and then trimmed here, and I had to get my ruler to trim it. Whereas if you just do that, no need to get your ruler and mark where to trim it off, because you can see where to trim it off. And that way you're also only cutting through one side of the paper instead of two. I find when you have two, it moves a little bit and the lines aren't exactly straight. With one piece, you can get that straight. So with my smaller pieces of paper, I like having a variety of different sizes of papers when I make my junk journals. I'm going to show you how I've got two of each type of paper, so I can show you the different ways you can fold them. So one is going this way, one is going this way, and I like having lines going all different ways when I do these junk journals, because it just gives each page a different look. Again, it has that kind of eclectic look, so you can see the difference there. So that's a tip, use two of each type so that you get more use out of them, if that makes sense. Same with this one here. I've got this beautiful cream paper, just for a different texture or look to the page. So that one I'll fold in half. This one I'm going to fold this way. Bless me. All right, so I'm just going to use the lines to mark where to cut those. And we'll just trim that there. Okay, coming along to our larger pages, I've got two large aligned papers. So again, the first one I am just going to fold in half, or not in half. I'm going to just leave that gap there, fold it there, trim here. See, no need to measure where that cut needs to go. Right there, done. This one, I'll go ahead and fold it this way in half. So we have a nice narrower page. I'll use the line to measure. You could also use that as another page in your journal, a smaller page, or you could use that to tuck into a pocket as extra writing space. I'll just let my cat in again. He always meows at my door when he wants to be let in. Okay, and then now we come to the blank coffee dye pages. So I've got a whole bunch of these because these are the main writing pages. When I make my personal journals, I would just have a journal made up only of these. So again, I'm just going to fold to that point there, trim it down here, and then cut it along the top. So it will look like that. Now I'll show you some other ways to fold these papers. So if we want a pocket page, what I will do is fold it up here like that to whatever height you want your pocket. You could fold it higher or lower, and then I'm just going to fold it over like this. And I like making my pocket pages a bit shorter and narrower, just for some contrast, like so. And then I will take this to my sewing machine and I'll stitch down here, across here, and up there. If you don't have a sewing machine, just use glue, and that becomes a pocket page. In fact, you don't even need to sew it. Sometimes I leave it open, because the benefit of leaving it open is you can actually just slide things in, and you're not limited on what size item you put in there. So if you have a larger item, you might want to keep it open, especially if you have something like a postcard or a letter. That's up to you if you want to keep it open or stitch it closed. Now I'll show you a flip page. So what I'm going to do is fold this about here, and then with the other side I will fold that one in. Now you want to give a decent fold here, because you don't want to have to cut off that edge when the inner papers are too wide and you have to trim this edge here. So just bring it in quite a bit so that you're definitely not going to have to trim that edge off. And again, I will trim off the top. I find this part of the process quite therapeutic. This whole measuring, folding, cutting, ruling, I really find that therapeutic. So that's why I don't need a paper trimmer, because I quite enjoy this part of the process. So you see here now we have this flap. There's some options for what you can do for this flap. You can leave it like this and have this little extra flap that you can have some secret journaling there, or you can stitch it or glue it closed so that you have a pocket like that, or you can glue another page onto it. For example, what if I glued this onto it or sewed it on, and then you have like this extra fun page or something like that, you know. So many options for what you can do with a simple flap. Okay. What I usually like to do as well is do one on the other side. So if there's a flap on this side of the journal, I then want a flap on the other side. So I'll show you that. Also, I like playing around with my flaps. So some flaps I like to do larger, like this. So that way you have a narrow page here. But then I'll put the flap on this side so that there's some interactive elements on both sides of the journal, so it's even. For me, I don't want all my pockets and things and flips and flaps only on one side of the journal. I want them even, so that each time you flip the page, there's something to look at interesting. You don't have to wait to one side of the signature, or it's all in one part of the journal. Okay. And having these narrower pages, that's where you get lovely layers and overlap, so you can see the pages underneath. Again, that gives it that junk journal look. So another idea with the pocket page is to do it this way as well. Usually I do have two. So I'll do one this way and I'll do one that way. Just again, so that there's, you know, you can see the pocket this side first when you get to that page. This one, you see it on this side, just for some difference again. I'm just looking here. Maybe I will show you that. So what I want to do is fold it up here, and I'm going to fold this one this way so that the pocket's on the outside. And depending on how interactive you want your journal, you might not want this many pockets in your journal with all the bags and the envelopes and your sewn pockets. You might just want lots of big blank pages. If that's you, go ahead and fold all your pages nice and large. So I will head on over to my sewing machine and sew those pockets up. And then here's a look at all of our beautiful other pages. And I hope that gave you a few different ideas of ways that you can get the most out of your papers. Simple material to use, but you can really, through how you fold it, how you cut it, you can really do some different things with your pages and get some different looks. So may you have fun putting all your pages together. And I'll see you guys in the next video, the next part of this series, where we will start arranging them and putting them all together. Okay, awesome. I'll see you then. Bye, guys. Thank you to my beautiful patrons who supported me in September. I could not do this without you, so thank you so much for allowing me to create and share videos for yet another month. If you'd like to become a patron in October, the link will be below in the description box. That's where you get access to behind the scenes looks, sneak peeks, first access to my journals. At the Ruby level, you get all printables from my Etsy shop. Emerald level, you get extra printables, and then there are some mail tiers as well. I'm also running my courses, my journaling courses again in October, so feel free to sign up for any of those. Just send me an email and check all the links in the description box below for ways to contact me and be part of the world of Willow Bound Journals.